Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
Now, here's your host, Ed Cohen.
Hi, this is Ed in Big Bear Lake, Southern California, about 100 miles east of downtown LA, high up at 7,000 feet. Big Bear Lake, fabulous place, resort area. Snow Summit goes up to 9,000, and it's just 15 minutes down Big Bear Boulevard. And our special guest today is in the Denver area, Doreen Cumberford, and she is an author and a former diplomat, and has, with her husband of many years, been traveling the world. Let's say hi to Doreen. Hi.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, Ed. It's really good to hear you and to see you again.
Thank you. So the last time we were on Global TV Talk Show, you were in Mexico,
Yes.
high up in a beautiful village area. What was the name of that place?
The name of the city is San Miguel de Allende. It's a city, it's an ancient colonial city built in the 15 and 1600s. It still has cobblestone streets.
Oh, beautiful.
It has many. It is a World Heritage UNESCO site downtown with the original paint colors of the houses. Wow,
that's great. So I remember the show, and you took us around, show some of the property that you were in, but also some of the village scenes. So that was really a beautiful area. And so where are you going next?
Well, we're home in Colorado to sell a property here and to move back to San Miguel de Allende in Mexico and use that as our home base.
Yes. Okay. So is that going to happen this summer?
Yes, it is. In fact, we're celebrating because this weekend is our open house. We've worked very hard to organize, treasurize, if that's a word, the significance and the meaning of our marriage together over 30-something years, and also all the countries we've lived in. Between my husband and I, we've lived in about 9 countries. Oh
my God. So you have lots of stuff to crate around or put in storage or do something with.
We do, and it's really the job of a curator. We're really trying to curate what is important and what is not important, and get rid of things that really do not have meaning and significance anymore, and to photograph a lot of it before we shed it and give it away.
Well, now that is a great idea, because all you have to do is to do the video on this.
Yeah.
And start and stop.
Yeah.
And that's almost as good as having this in your hand, but you don't need to have it in your hand. You can remember it by looking at it.
Well, that's sort of the point, Ed. Throughout our lives, especially as Americans or Westerners, if we're in Europe, collecting is something we seem to do organically and naturally and somewhat subconsciously. And so when it comes to looking at a property and many of our belongings, we can see patterns of purchasing, patterns of things that we've fallen in love with, patterns of things that we bought and forgot we had. And so I have a friend recently who told me she scaled down from 4,500 square feet home to a 10 by 10 foot storage locker. And when she unpacked it, she had 8 extension cords. The extension cords with all the electrical sockets on them. She ended up with 8 of those, and we all do that. So I would recommend to anyone who's going through this process, it is a fabulous journey through your lifetime and your lifestyle. And it has really illuminated how unconscious a consumer I have been at times.
Yeah, just doing things, right, and not thinking them through. Anyway, your book, the one about the
Life in the
camel.
camel lane. Life in the
Yeah,
camel lane.
yeah. So, is that still active? Is it?
Oh,
Are you
yes.
attracting readers? You are, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Life in the Camel Lane, Embrace Your Adventure is on Amazon. And thank you so much for mentioning it. And it's about 15 years spent in the country of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So after we enjoyed the Saudi Arabian adventure, we wanted to kind of articulate what I learned and what women in general learned from the process of moving there, living there, and then leaving. And the next book I will write in a year or so will be Life in the House Sitting Lane, which my husband and I have been doing as a, let's just say, playtime in our rewirement, because we weren't tired. So why would we sit in a rocking chair and watch TV? So instead of that, we explored 10 countries and took care of people's properties and pets.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that, and you had that experience in San Miguel.
Yes, we did. We did. That was what took us to San Miguel in the first place. But we kept returning, and we found ourselves fascinated and mesmerized by the international culture, by the goodness and the welcome that we have from the Mexican people there. And quite frankly, we don't feel that welcome when we come back to America sometimes. So that's part of the impetus for moving there.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
And by heirs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at heirs.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
Stop dreaming and start living overseas. International lifestyle consultant Emily Braun can help you seamlessly transition to your new life in your dream destination. Whether you are a retiree, a digital nomad, or a mobile executive, Emily Braun can make your transition overseas a success. Visit emilybraun.com.
Coutalis is a global group with a worldwide footprint. With 16 agencies in 10 countries, Coutalis offers companies and mobile professionals a unique combination of HR services and options. Find us at coutalis.com.
Take your communication skills to the next level. Barbara Bolt of Bolt Global has a passion to make you shine. As our globe expands, effective intercultural communication and presentation is a must. Visit boltglobal.com.
You know, this is really a good point. This show is not about politics or anything like that.
No.
But we all know what you're talking about. It's just people are different. Once you break the ice, it's different. But
yes,
it's not like in San Miguel, for instance, and other places. Immediately, the locals know that you're a newcomer, and they're either in their own world and they stay there, or they want to mix and say hello and try to be helpful to you. And it's so obvious that they're cultured and that they're aware.
They're receptive. Yes,
Yeah,
they're receptive.
and they're bright people, and they can be helpful to you because they know what you may need.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. And you know, I do think there's a point to this othering that we are doing to each other. But when you learn to live as the foreigner overseas in a respectful manner, I think that's one of the most important lessons in life is respect. and really respecting other people's, the way they do things differently. Now, I get frustrated in Mexico. Mexico's teaching me patience, Ed.
Forcing you.
And I thought Saudi Arabia had taught me patience. But oh no, this is this is another level.
Mañana or what?
Well, we had the inshallah effect in the Middle East when I lived in the Middle East. Everything inshallah, at the will of Allah.
Yeah.
And we kind of got along with that. But now I'm going back to a country who has the mañana effect. And it's very, very different, but very familiar. And so clearly it's a lesson that I still need to learn.
So they know that. They see that right away because it's so obvious.
Yes, yes.
Now, is it because of the tequila or because of the sun, or it's just in the culture?
It's in the culture and the way of being. And, you know, the way of being is such a woo-woo idea. It's like, how do you make that clear and visceral to people? And how are we being? I mean, I ask myself, how welcoming am I? And also there's an element of privilege, Ed. I try not to be.
Yes, you mentioned that before at one time.
I try to be really conscious, even here in America, that I'm very privileged because I have the choice. And anyone who doesn't have that choice, and there are amazing opportunities to give as an expat in Mexico, because you're living alongside people who are really very, very poor, but they have so much to teach me. And so a part of this is going there as a good student and not coming off as, you know, the Mexpat, they call us, Mexican expats.
Hey, let me ask you a question here, just to do a little deep dive here, because our audience is diverse. And
good. It's the globe. We love the globe. We love global-hearted people. So,
again, this is not political. I'm totally vaccinated with boosters and everything. So,
yes.
And Joanne also, and so far we've avoided getting sick at all.
Yes.
For 2 years. So
congratulations.
It's great. So, but in Mexico, in San Miguel, for instance, it's a small community. Yes. Were you afraid of mixing?
Actually, Mexico handled the pandemic, in my estimation, really well. Mexico is loud. Their culture is loud. Their wild dogs are loud. They're barking all night. There's booms, there's fireworks all the time. When somebody dies, they set off this huge loud boom.
So it's a celebration, not a mourning.
It's to kind of, you know, let the world and the heavens know that this person's on their way. And when we were in Mexico when COVID occurred, so we noticed, first of all, the quietening down, and it was silent. It was eerie. It was weird not to look at the village on the mountain and go, well, there's no dogs barking. What's the matter with that? I mean, even the dogs got it. So they handled it very differently, and they had masking mandates until just recently. They probably, and I haven't been there in 6 weeks, but they probably still have this thing where you walk through the disinfectant into all the stores. They were still doing that as of a couple of months ago. So they were very, very diligent about doing their best when they started to see family members dropping from COVID. And the thing is, they didn't have the privilege of isolating. They didn't have the privilege of putting a sick person away from the rest of the family, because maybe there's 3 or 4 generations living in one property.
Yeah, and as Americans, not everyone, but most, up to now anyway, they can't wait to get away and be on their own or with a new family.
Yes, yes, it's very different. We got COVID 2 days before we could have gotten the shot in Mexico.
Oh no. Yeah.
And my husband has a little bit of long-term effects from the results of that. We were not afraid, though. In fact, that was, I think, part of the element that was missing. Fear was mitigated by the bumpers of the culture. So the bumpering of a culture is sort of a different thinking, was like, okay, let's wait and see. Let's watch, let's wait and see. And they very much had that thought process instead of reacting. So it was very different. It was just totally different. And when we came back to America, we drove through Texas, and we had come from Mexico where everybody was wearing masks and was covered up. And we even wore plastic gloves to the supermarket. Now, have you ever taken a plastic bag when you're wearing plastic gloves and tried to put a lime in it? It is, and you've got a mask on, and if you lick the plastic glove, take down your mask to do that, you get yelled at by somebody in the supermarket. We had that kind of thing going on. And my husband and I couldn't go to the supermarket together because we were considered vulnerable. And they didn't want two people in one family becoming vulnerable. So he would go in one door, I'd go in another door, and we kind of ignore each other as we traversed the aisles. I mean, it really provided a lot of games for us to play. And, and of course they eventually all figured it out. But there were some stores that you were not allowed in if you were over 60 years old, because they will have this mechanism of wanting to protect you. And that was totally foreign to me. I was like, oh, that's different. It's a little bit more like Japan. When we lived in Japan, there were people called living treasures, and they're people who are like 90 to 110 years old. And they literally treat them like living treasures.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah. It's just very different, and it's a cultural perspective. It's just the way they practice and the way they think about things. And so when we observed that in Mexico, we thought, we could do this. We could live here, even through the worst of times. It was a delight in many respects.
So with the elevation, you were up, what, 2,500, 4,000 feet, something like that?
No, it's the same elevation as Denver almost. It's about 6,700 feet. It's 3.5 hours northwest of Mexico City.
Yeah, northwest. Okay. And so are there a lot of Americans there? Or is it?
There are a lot of them. There are a lot of Americans and a lot of Canadians, and many Canadians come down part-time because, of course, they can't give up their Canadian residency because they want to keep their national health privileges. So there are lots of Canadians, lots of Americans, lots of Europeans. It's a very international community, and actually Americans went there in the 1930s. So they have a history of almost a century of expats and locals living, working, and practicing together.
Interesting.
We are pleased to welcome Adamo Education as a proud sponsor of Global TV Talk Show.
The concept of a microschool is the reimagining of the one-room schoolhouse. My name is Tamara Becker. I'm the president and CEO of Adamo Education. The microschool concept really does not just lend itself to the personalization and the customization of learning, but also the social development and fostering that sense of love for learning. Unlike what we see in traditional brick and mortar schools, we have multiple grade levels in the same learning space. Students can be enriched by the socialization that they get, as well as the academic support from peers. What differentiates Adamo is the fact that we are taking the best pieces of brick and mortar, of digital, and then at-home learning. Students here can come 5 days a week. They can come 4 hours a day. It will really just depend on what is best for the student and for the parent. To enroll, just reach out via phone, text, or email, and we'll have that personalized conversation, and we'll be able to get you all set. Check us out at adamoeducation.org.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
So things are back to normal there?
Pretty much, yeah. As of 6 weeks ago, like I said, we're still working through these disinfectant pads. I haven't been there in 6 weeks, but yes, mostly. And there's still people, of course, who are vulnerable, who are wearing masks. And I imagine there's still elderly people who are, hiding inside. And I wouldn't say we were in Puerto Vallarta for a few weeks, which is a very, very touristy town.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
And I wouldn't say the hotels were not all open. The resorts were not booming. But there was a resurgence of people coming back. And I imagine that will continue for the next 2 years till they get to pre-COVID levels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's strange, isn't it? Yeah. So you have a book in the oven, huh? In your mind.
Well,
or a theme.
Yes, you're talking about It's Never Too Late to Relocate.
Right.
So I'm not sure it will be a book, but possibly it could be an ebook. I'm launching a program of a series of videos that is getting prepared now on It's Never Too Late to Relocate. And it is the idea that there are there's millions of boomers in America and the UK alone who are looking at their lives and deciding that they want to have an adventure in their third chapter, or they want to maintain their standard of living and their quality of life. And they're seeing it change so much that they're actually considering making a move overseas. And so this program is designed to help those people take the leap, to give them a hand over that gap, to explore other opportunities and the best way to manage the process.
I want to help promote that. And I welcome you to Global TV Talk Show to give us updates on your findings.
Yeah, thank you.
Doreen Cumberford. Okay, so people can find you on LinkedIn. I'm just looking up your name.
Yes, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm also at Doreen M. Cumberford on Facebook. And I have a website. The website is www.doreenmcumberford. And you can find me any of those places.
And I will. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Ed. Thank you for the time and for your very timely questions.
I want to stay in touch with you.
Likewise. You're such a great global connector with such a great global heart.
Thanks. Okay, take care. All right, this is Ed in Big Bear Lake, California, and that's Doreen Cumberford today in the Denver area. Ciao.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.